Hi and welcome to Coffee Chats. I'm Siri Hewlett and it's been a while, but if you want to grab a coffee and have a listen in, this is what I have observed about myself this week and probably over the past few years about how I work and how I run a business or not run a business, because sometimes it feels that way too. So I've been a physio for 30 years and the main thing is I'm very good with clients and I can do the hands-on and I can do the management of clients because that's what we do. But I also run my own business, and over the past 18 to 20 years I've kind of noticed that that's the bit that I struggle with more so, because it requires me to think a little bit differently. And I started off with different business coaches. So I thought, as a physio, we're taught a lot of things. We're taught, how to manage things. We're taught to manage clients. There's lots of coaching, there's lots of training, there's lots of courses you can go on. So I trained back in the 90s. I qualified, and then I did a master's degree in the early 2000s, because we want to grow, we want to improve our skills, and then learning every day is basically on the job learning. We do different courses, etc., etc. When it comes to business though, we don't tend to have that school that we go to. We have learning on the job, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. So when I first started business, I thought, I'm not really that knowledgeable. I know how to manage my clients, but I really don't know how to attract them. I don't know, the first thing about advertising. We all know, and back in those days it was things like the local pages. So your local magazine or your local newspaper that comes around, things like yellow pages. People would look for you in the actual textbook. Now that things have changed, people don't do that. So back in those days I thought I need some help, and I worked with a couple of different business people, just to really get a grip on, okay, if I want to make a success of this, how can I do that? And I need to get somebody to help me. And that was a lot more with probably things that I didn't really gel with that well. Advertising, give out free sessions. I think I advertised as they suggested, and I gave out 30 free sessions, which was 30 hours of my time. But the idea is that obviously if you gain a client, then you've got somebody that is going to come back to you, somebody that's going to use you, somebody that's going to really value what you do. So out of these 30 free sessions, that was one of the strategies, say 20 odd or so came in, and I think I might have gained one as a client. What really struck me at the time was a lot of the clients that came in had basically, probably half of them said, look, I'm actually really impressed with what you've said, but I've got my own physio, so can you write that down and tell me? So, they've never told me that before, so can I just take this away and give it to them? Which was a real kick in the teeth, because I'd like to think that I look at clients a little bit differently. If somebody's got a tennis elbow, somebody's got a knee problem, you're looking at, okay, well, that's the structural problem, but what's caused it? What's behind all this? Why has this happened in the first place? Because if we don't solve that, we're not going to solve it in a way that's making it long term. It's likely that something else will happen, or there's some sort of issue going on behind the scenes. So I tend to look at things just a little bit differently. So that really struck me as quite a blow, quite a good thing for an ego boost, because they obviously enjoyed what I said and they liked the way I thought and they liked the way that I presented their problem, but they wanted to stay with their original physio. So freebies is basically something that is not generally recommended in the medical profession, but also kind of in our group as physios, because we don't want to seem to be devaluing our sort of skill set, but also generally the type of clientele that want to come in and do freebies, and generally not the ones that are going to become longer term clients. So it's kind of weighing up the pros and cons and deciding if that's a good route for you. I decided it wasn't a good route for me. Other kind of things that were talked about was, advertising. I did local leaflet drops. I did chats to GPs, the general kind of run-of-the-mill stuff that you would do. And gradually over time, you get that organic growth. People start to know you, and you get this, not following, but following of clients. So I would have clients that would come from, an hour's journey away just to see me once or twice a week because they believed what I was doing was helpful. And, if you've got clients that are doing that, you kind of think, well, I am doing the right thing. But the actual business side of things is something that I have generally always struggled with, purely because it's the same principle as when clients are in pain. When you're in pain, and the business analogy is you have no clients, you want to do something about it. So you work, you go and see somebody, you put in the effort, the pain goes away, you put in some advertising, you have something in general, and your clientele builds. And then we're at a point where we think, oh, we've got enough clients, or oh, my pain doesn't hurt anymore, so we stop doing what we've been doing. And then gradually over time your clientele shrinks, or gradually over time you find your pain starts to come back. And that's the ebb and flow of life, and that's the ebb and flow of business. So that's something that I've kind of noticed, that it doesn't matter what we're doing, you have to have a little bit of something in the background going on. So for a lot of people, from a pain point of view, you have your problem, you get rid of the pain, you start to manage it. You might have ongoing stretches, or you might have ongoing strength things that you might need to do once or twice a week, and that keeps everything at bay. Once you stop doing that, you start noticing that things have changed, things are different, things kind of drift back towards where you were starting to get a discomfort. But we should have given you the tools to get back on the horse and know what to do. And then if that doesn't persist, then yes, you need help. And the same comes in business. We kind of go, oh my God, it's quiet this week. And business from a management point of view, there's different things that will happen over time. So for us around Christmas time, people start to pull back. They might be a little bit less keen to come in. Christmas is coming up, people's health funds have run out. So we generally know leading up to Christmas can be quite quiet, or it can be chaos, because people have finished work, they've finished school, they've got time, and they think, right, I've got to get this sorted and done now between Christmas, New Year, ready for me going back. So it can be either way, but there's generally kind of a busier time of year and generally a quieter time of year, and Christmas generally traditionally tends to be a little bit quieter than probably the rest of the year. What happens when we're quiet is that if that persists for a longer period of time, we naturally see a lessening or a decrease in our client numbers. And so then we panic and go, oh my God, we've got to do something. Same like our pain comes back, oh my God, I've got to do something about it. So we go on, whatever it is, whether nowadays it's social media, whether we start to post on Facebook, whether we start to look at, Instagram, or we go to Google ads, or we look at, connecting through newsletters. There will be something that we think, okay, we can access this, build better relationships so that we start building up our clientele again. And that's similar to taking action when your pain level is higher. And then over time our client level comes up, and then we forget about what we should be doing. So it's kind of come to pass that how we manage our bodies is very similar. Like this podcast, I got very excited and I thought, yes, I'd like to start up this analogy of kind of chaos and having a chat, and kind of then getting into the business model, which is very similar to how we run in health these days. We tend to have a problem, we manage the problem, and then we put it away. And business and growth, we see a problem, we think we'll try and fix that problem, and then we let it go. So we don't carry on with that little trickle of something that should keep on things and keep us on an even track, whether that is pain, whether that's business, whether that's life. And the same could be saying for finances. We kind of think, oh, I want to go on holiday, so we save, and we've got this holiday, and then everything's blown and we have to start again from scratch. Whereas if we kept like a little bit of consistency over time, then we probably find that we've got a little slash fund or fund that we can then use and access, because it's not all or nothing. So all or nothing is generally how I seem to run my business, and it can either be incredibly busy and very successful, or I've put the brakes on because I've gone, oh my god, this is chaos and I can't take any more clients, and then it slows right down, and then I go, oh my god, we're quiet, we're going to have to do something to build up numbers, where in reality there should be just that gentle flow, that something in the background is going on, whether that is we're staying in contact with our clients, whether that is there's social media posts so somebody knows that we're still here. And the same can be said for our pain levels. If we've had hamstring strain, or we've torn something or hurt something, the pain is there and we get rid of it, but we want to stop it coming back. So our ideal is that we do the things that prevent it from occurring again. And that should be something that we're taught from your attending physio or health professional or what have you. But when it comes to business, or when it comes to problems, we also have to look at things the same way. We have to look at, we have a problem, how are we going to manage it? What is it that's there? And getting the clarity to actually work through that and manage that. And then from there we kind of look forward and go, okay, this problem is now at a level that it's comfortable at, or I've solved that riddle, whatever it might be. I mean, it doesn't have to be a problem. It could be just you want to do something different, you want to have something, and then what are the steps involved in doing that? Once you reach that level, you want it to stay that way. So when you're looking at everything that's behind business, you're looking at, we've built the website, but you don't want a website that's static, because it doesn't rank as highly. So to get your better ranking, you're having to look at your SEO, you're having to look at what meta tags you've got, you're also having to look at how many visitors come to the site, have you got your pixel in place, have you got that actually feeding back to the numbers, have you got a Google tag, have you tagged it in the right place, have you got those things that are sending the information back to where you want it. In terms of business as it stands, we now have great business teachers and great business coaches who basically will tell you need to have a lead magnet, you need to have something that will let the people like you, you need to have something, no one's going to buy from you straight away, they're going to see you or need to see you about 7 times before they're going to trust you. And then basically you'll have other business leaders who say, that's a load of codswallop, if people gel with you, they like you, they're going to buy from you. And it depends which way that works, whether it works for you or not. For me, in my personal experience, I think that my biggest problem is that I procrastinate a lot, and I have a great idea, and I start onto the idea and I get going with the idea, like this podcast. When I actually look back, my first podcast on here was a year ago, and then it was dead. And when I've kind of gone, okay, I'm in a better position at the moment, I've actually built some grounding behind it, I've got my website in place, I've got different things that people can do, or different ways that people can contact me, but also different offers for people now to work with me. One of the things that I would like to do is start a podcast. So when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I already did a podcast. Oh, that's good. And then, I already had it set up on Riverside, which is an app that allows me to record the podcast and then produce it. And that was all quite a revelation, because I thought I was using something else from before. So there's lots of things we do, and we kind of sit them on the sideboard, or we sit them on the bench and forget about them. And then we think, why are we quiet? Why isn't this happening? I like this business idea. So I like the idea that a lot of our problems and a lot of things that happen are very, very interrelated. Business, health, finances, problems, they're all very similar. We have a problem. It causes us to become whatever it is and how we deal with things, whether we sit on them for a while or whether we go and we look up everything possible and we ask Dr. Google or we ask ChatGPT, and then we find, okay, these are all our options, now what am I going to do? And the thing is, nowadays we get so much information. It's not like, I need a plumber, let's look it up in Yellow Pages, oh, these are the plumbers, who's in my area. Now it's, okay, who's recommended me? You go on to, your local business pages or your local kind of social pages and Facebook groups and ask, who recommends a great plumber? And then you get a list of people, and you nowadays we're bound with, oh my god, they've been recommended by 10 people, they must be good. The 10 people have said they're good, let's go. Someone else has recommended one, let's go with the one that's been recommended 10 times because they've obviously done a better job. And that really doesn't mean that they've done a better job. It might mean that 10 people have used them and found them okay, but the person who's recommended one might be absolutely 10 times better, but only one person's used them in that particular group. So we're still bound by what we experience, and we're still bound by taking a plunge and seeing for ourselves, are they the right fit for me? So basically, from this coffee chat, it's really one thing that I have learned is problems need clarity. Chaos breeds more chaos, and chaos breeds non-action. And that's basically what's happened with my podcast and my business entity of coffee and chaos and clarity, and trying to make sense of why do we get stuck in a place. And my reason that I got stuck last year was because I got on this bandwagon of wanting to have this outlet to help others, and basically then I thought, okay, well, what do I do now? Because I've got this outlet, but if people want to work with me, I don't really have anything to show with it. My business model is all physio based, my website is all physio based, and if people want to use me as kind of a sounding board to help them with their problems, I need to have another umbrella, hence chaos, coffee and clarity, for them to access and for them to maybe get familiar with how I think, because I do think a little bit outside the box. But also I found with obviously this chat here, everything is very similar. So what's your thoughts if you're looking at a problem? Do you think that you sit with the chaos for a long time and then try and make sense of it? Or do you think that you are quite quick off the ball and you access things and you get the information and you look at it and then go pros and cons, I'm going this way? I think most of us are probably just between those extremes, where we'll make fast decisions when we have to, because we have to and because things are happening. And then when we've got time to think about it, like I've had time to think about this and I haven't had the pressure, which my ADHD brain needs. It needs pressure. It hasn't had the pressure because no one's been pushing me, because no one knows about it. So this is just on me. So what's your thoughts? Do you need pressure? Do you need chaos? Or do you need clarity to basically think properly and move ahead? So hopefully, and I'll say fingers crossed, this will be a weekly thing. My brain says today it's going to be a weekly thing. However, we shall see in the fruits of whether I can make this continue on a weekly basis. So happy coffee chat with me, and I shall look forward to seeing you next week.